Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar. Here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Reliance Industries delivers a robust second quarter performance helped by strong growth in its consumer businesses. Consolidated revenue rise 10% and net profit jumps by over 10% against a year ago. Margins expand 110 basis points to 18%. Retail business revenues grow 18% with grocery and fashion businesses each clocking over 20% growth. Digital services saw revenues jump by 15% with continued expansion of subscriber base. Jio's average revenues per user rose 8.4% to 211 rupees and 40 paise over the quarter. JioStar's net profits crossed 1,300 crore rupees. Festive cheer on the Lal Street. Sensex and Nifty clocked the biggest weekly gains in 4 months, hitting their highest level in a year. Nifty Bank hits a record high even as mid-caps underperform. Gold prices on course for the biggest weekly gain since 2008. International prices crossed the $4,300 mark. Silver prices also rise as demand remains robust in India on the eve of Dhanteras. Regional banks in the US come under fresh scrutiny, sparking concerns on Wall Street. Select bank shares get hammered after ties emerge between banks and borrowers accused of fraud. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav to jointly address the media at noon tomorrow. Sources say that the press conference could focus on the economic impact of GST reforms. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal rules out free trade agreements at any cost, saying that those days are gone. Also calls out Indian industries for resisting minor import competition and terms it a weakness. U.S. Chamber of Commerce sues the Trump administration over $100,000 fee imposed on H1B visas. Industry body argues that the fee violates immigration laws. Indian nationals account for 70% of H1B visas. Hours before a scheduled meet with the Ukrainian president at the White House, Trump agrees to meet Putin in Hungary. Trump calls the phone call a productive one. Zelenskyy is likely to make the case for more missiles at the White House later today. Supreme Court refuses to restrain Natco Pharma from selling the generic version of Roche's muscular atrophy medicine. Natco Pharma can sell the medicine for below 16,000 rupees compared to Roche's imported price of 6 lakh rupees. Roche calls the verdict a disappointment and pledges to protect its innovations. RBL Bank all set to consider a fundraise proposal tomorrow. This comes amidst talks of selling majority stake to Middle East banking powerhouse Emirates NBD. If approved, it will be one of the biggest M&A in banking, underscoring foreign interest in India's finance sector. India's food safety regulator bans the marketing of sugar-rich food products and beverages as oral rehydration solutions. Dr. Sivaranjani Santoshi breaks down on camera after winning an 8-year legal battle resulting in the major regulatory change. The Tejas light combat fighter jet manufactured by Hindustan Aeronautics in Nashik takes to the skies on its maiden flight. The aircraft will enter service after integration of weapons, radar and fire control systems. The top story this evening, Reliance Industries has delivered a robust second quarter performance helped by strong growth in its consumer businesses. Consolidated revenues rose by 10% and net profit has jumped by 10% compared to the last year. Margins have expanded 110 basis points to 18%. Our research team is standing by with more on Reliance numbers. Sonal, coming to you first. How was the overall performance?
Well, Reliance reported strong set of earnings. It was a top-down beat led by the auto-chemicals and retail business this time around. If we look at the revenues, they came in higher on a quarter-on-quarter basis at 2.55 lakh crore rupees. The EBITDA number at 45,885 crore rupees. That number is a 6-quarter high, higher on a quarter-on-quarter and on a YOY basis as well. The consolidated EBITDA margin at 18% is largely in line with estimates. If you talk about the net profit, that came in at 18,165 crore rupees. That looked lower on a quarter-on-quarter basis, but that is because there was an element of stake sale coming in from Asian Paints to the tune of 8,900 crore rupees. Strip of that, the numbers are better than what the street was working with. Overall, the Altochemicals business saw higher spreads, anywhere between 17 to 22%. That led to better margins this time around. Oil and gas business, where the EBITDA was flat on a quarter-on-quarter basis versus an expectation of a decline. That is a positive trend as well. This is despite that volumes fell 8% this time around. The pricing was strong. Retail business saw strong growth, and Jio also aided profits this time around. So good set of numbers coming in from Reliance Industries this time. But let's talk about the segments now. First up, the big driver in terms of segmental performance. Let's go across to my colleague Mangalam, who will tell us more.
Well, the retail business did extremely well. This elephant keeps marching on out here. This company has reported 18.6% revenue growth in the retail business. Analyst expectations were that of 13 to 15% growth, and it's done so with improving operating metrics as well. So the EBITDA for Reliance Retail this time around has grown to 16.3%, and this again much higher than analysts' estimated range of 14 to 15% itself. What it's done is reported the highest ever quarterly revenue on an absolute basis at 90,554 crores, and importantly, the EBITDA coming just above the 6,800 crore mark as well. It's been led by 22% growth in fashion and lifestyle, 23% growth in grocery, and 18% growth in consumer electronics. If you look at the per square feet revenue matrices as well, it's been a lot higher. Growth of 21.1%. That's reflecting in the 7.5% margin that you can see on your screen. The company has now presence at nearly 20,000 retail outlets in the country. Won't be surprising if the company goes ahead and in the third quarter, given the festive season tailwinds, crosses the milestone of 1 lakh crore revenue per quarter for the retail business as well. But that's about the retail business. The other driver, also the Jio business.
Well, Reliance Jio was in line with street expectations. The company delivered a 12.4% increase in the revenues. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, 3.2%. The EBITDA margins came in at 56.1% versus 56%. And year-on-year, there was a margin expansion of 240 basis points. The two drivers, one, subscriber growth continues to be strong. This time, for the first time ever, Reliance Jio subscriber base crossed 500 million. So very sharp increase seen, and ARPUs continue to inch up, and now they stand at 211.4. The company says increased consumption, positive seasonality aided the ARPU increase. And Jio Air Fiber, that also continues to accelerate with scale. But for Reliance Jio, the big trigger is going to be the IPO that's scheduled in the first half of next year, calendar year. And ahead of that, are we going to see any sort of a tariff increase? But the company in the press release also makes it very clear they're on track to deliver 2x EBITDA for the entire Jio platform business between FY24 to FY28. In a nutshell, these are in-line set of numbers and another steady quarter for Reliance Jio.
Well, on to the day's market action. The Sensex and the Nifty have hit a one-year high, with Nifty Bank also hitting record highs. Sensex crossed the 84,000 mark intraday. Mid-cap index relatively underperformed. For the week, the Lal Street rose for the third straight week, and the Sensex and Nifty rising nearly 2% each. Realty and FMCG gained the most among all the sectors, with both indices up 3% each. Prashant Nair is joining us now with a quick wrap of the week's market trading action. Prashant.
Well, it was a week in which at least one of the two frontline indices hit a new all-time high. I'm talking about, of course, the Nifty Bank. The Nifty is not very far behind, a couple of percentage points. Week on week, the Nifty was up about 1.7%. The Nifty Bank was up about 2%. Mid-cap index ending about 1/3% higher, and the small-cap index was down about 0.75%. As far as winners are concerned, I'll get straight to stocks, and this is all, of course, weekly numbers. Nestle was the top gainer. Actually, FMCG came into its own towards the end. Nestle, Asian Paints, of course, consumer name, but that was another one. Mahindra & Mahindra, Adani Ports, Bajaj Finance were some of the winners that we had. On the downside, tech had a decent week the week before, but of course, this week sold off. Infosys, Wipro, TCS were the three big cuts that we had. Relatively speaking, but the three top losers as far as Nifty goes. In the broader markets, lots of names. And, I'll of course start with what was up. Whirlpool Big gains on Friday, and for the week it tallied about 19%. Adani Power was up 11% for the week. Mapma India was up about 9%. Angel One ending about 8.5% higher. There was Naveen Fluorine 8%, Persistent 7.5%, ICICI Lombard, of course, it was a one-day wonder after the results, 7.5% there. MCX continues its sort of fantastic journey, 7%. Godrej Properties was up about 7% as well. On the downside, I mean, some stocks which sold off. Anantraj was down 11%, but it's had a fabulous move. Chennai Petro sold off 10%. SW Solar was down 9%. There was Reliance Power, even after Friday's move higher, it was down about 8.5% for the week. Jindal Saw, Reddington, I mean, those are in the 6 to 7% loss zone. All in all, not a bad week. I mean, I think as we trade through this festive period, the big expectation, of course, is, and I think justly so, that some kind of cooling off will happen with regards to the tiff with the US in terms of trade. And I guess, I mean, that's the last thing which is remaining after all the tax cuts, rate cuts, and everything else which has been done. So will we see something on that front over the next couple of days? I think that remains the big news, big story. If it does happen, will be a perfect Diwali gift. Back to you.
Right, Prashant, thanks a lot for that. Well, the bull run, meanwhile, for precious metals continues heading into the Diwali week. Gold prices hit yet another all-time high, soaring past the $4,300 mark. The yellow metal is headed for its biggest weekly gain since December of 2008. Silver also followed suit to hit a record high of $54. The metal has gained nearly 90% so far in 2025. Now, regional banks in the US have come under fresh scrutiny, sparking concerns on Wall Street. Select bank shares got hammered after ties emerged between the banks and borrowers accused of fraud. Two lenders, namely Zions and Western Alliance, disclosed bad loans. This had a rub-off on Europe as well as select banking stocks taking a beating across the Atlantic. Now back home, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav will be jointly addressing a media at noon tomorrow. Sources say that the press conference could focus on the economic impact of GST reforms. Meanwhile, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has ruled out free trade agreements made at any cost. While speaking at ASSOCHAM, Goyal said that the days of desperate FTAs that would put India at a disadvantage are long gone. He added that India will not negotiate from a position of weakness. He also expressed disappointment at some Indian industries for resisting global competition. When quizzed by business leaders, Goyal declined to discuss ongoing trade negotiations between India and the US.
Gone are the days when India would, for example, since you mentioned free trade agreements, negotiate from a position of weakness. Gone are the days where we would land up doing imbalanced free trade agreements, not really recognizing our own strength, but being in a desperation to do an agreement at any cost, often giving up or ceding more than we get in return.
Well, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is suing the Trump administration for imposing a $100,000 one-time fee on new H1B visa applications. The chamber has claimed that this fee is unlawful and will cause significant harm to the U.S. businesses. In the lawsuit, the chamber also sought a declaration that President Donald Trump overstepped executive powers by ordering this new fee. The complaint has also asked the court to block federal agencies from enforcing this order. The White House responded to the suit by calling the fee lawful and a necessary initial incremental step towards necessary reforms. Now, Indian IT companies have said that the H1B visa hike will cause minimal disruption. RBL Bank is all set to consider a fundraise proposal. This comes tomorrow. This comes amidst talks of selling a majority stake to Middle East banking powerhouse Emirates NBD. If approved, it will be one of the biggest M&As in banking, underscoring foreign interest in India's finance sector. CNBC TV 18 had reported that the Reserve Bank has already given its informal nod to the deal. RBL Bank is also set to report its second quarter earnings tomorrow. Now, shares of Yes Bank fell sharply in trade. This after Reuters report suggested that Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation said that it has no immediate plans to raise its stake in Yes Bank beyond 24.99%. The company's India head said that the Japanese leader plans to scale up its India non-banking finance company's business. Now, here's a CNBC TV18 exclusive. The race to acquire stake in Axis Finance is heating up. Sources have told CNBC TV18 that Kedara Capital and Blackstone have submitted bids to acquire 20% stake in the company. A strategic player is also set to be in the race. The proposed transaction has been scaled down from the earlier plan to sell up to 50% for $800 million to $1 billion to now about 20% for roughly about $350 to $400 million. And Bajaj Auto's managing director, Rajiv Bajaj, has said that the company expects the final approval for the takeover of KTM AG next month. Speaking exclusively to CNBC TV18, Bajaj also described how years of operational and strategic missteps led to KTM's financial troubles.
We are waiting now for the key approval of the Takeover Commission. We understand that this may be forthcoming in November. We were all taken by surprise, I must say. I think most of the industry was quite shocked at how rapidly, this thing developed. And my mind goes back almost 30 years to what my first management guru, Dr. John Wallace, told me, which was simply this, that the single biggest reason for corporate demise is corporate greed. And I have really witnessed this play out at KTM, unfortunately, over the last 12 months in particular.
Shares of Hyderabad-based Natco Pharma surged in trade today. This after Supreme Court rejected a plea filed by Swiss pharma giant Roche, which had challenged Delhi High Court's order on rolling out of generic version of risdiplam. The drug is used to treat spinal muscular atrophy. In a statement, Roche has expressed its disappointment with the Supreme Court order. The company added that they are fully committed to protecting their innovations. And in international news, Russian Defense Ministry has said that its forces have carried out a massive overnight strike on Ukrainian gas infrastructure. This infrastructure, which supports Kyiv's military, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy claimed that Russia also launched a barrage of more than 300 drones and 37 missiles in that attack. Ukraine retaliated and struck Russia's Saratov oil refinery overnight. And in more international headlines, agencies have said that the flow of aid into Gaza is critically low a week into the ceasefire. This as Israel has not opened the Rafah crossing for aid to Palestinians. Israeli officials have claimed that aid routes like Rafah were not a part of the truce deal at any stage, and that all aid has to pass through Israeli-controlled areas. Donald Trump's former national security advisor turned critic John Bolton has been criminally indicted on federal charges. He arrived at a federal courthouse in Maryland to surrender. Bolton is facing several criminal charges of transmitting and retaining highly classified information under the Espionage Act. U.S. President Trump has said that Bolton was, and I quote, a bad guy when asked about the indictment. Bolton has served as Donald Trump's advisor for 17 months during the first presidency.
President Donald Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, was charged on Thursday with sharing sensitive government information, an alleged violation of the Espionage Act. The sweeping 18-count indictment accuses Bolton of sharing notes with two of his relatives for possible use in a book he was writing. The shared materials allegedly included more than 1,000 pages of information about his day-to-day activities as national security advisor, including top-secret information. The indictment does not identify the relatives, but two people familiar with the matter said they are Bolton's wife and daughter. Prosecutors also said Bolton failed to disclose that he had stored classified information on an email account that was hacked by a cyber actor tied to the Iranian government after Bolton left government service. Bolton's lawyer denies that he unlawfully shared or stored any information. And in a statement, Bolton said, quote, I look forward to the fight to defend my lawful conduct and to expose his abuse of power. Trump was asked about the indictment on Thursday.
I didn't know that. You tell me for the first time, but I think he's, a bad person. I think he's a bad guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy. It's too bad, but it's the way it goes.
The indictment marks the third time in recent weeks the Justice Department has secured criminal charges against one of Trump's critics. In recent months, the president has actively pushed Attorney General Pam Bondi's Justice Department to bring charges against his perceived adversaries, including former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. Inside the Justice Department, according to a person familiar with the matter, the case against Bolton is viewed as stronger than the prosecutions of Comey and James. No court appearance date was listed for Bolton as of Thursday evening. Each count is punishable by up to 10 years in prison if Bolton is convicted, but any sentence would be determined by a judge based on a range of factors.
Well, with that, it's time now for a short break. But coming up, the Tejas light combat fighter jet manufactured by Hindustan Aeronautics in Nashik takes to the skies on its maiden flight. More details when we come back. Welcome back. Now, Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel has expanded his ministry to 25 members, inducting 21 new ministers in a major cabinet reshuffle. Home Minister Harsh Sanghvi has been appointed as the new Deputy Chief Minister. Reshuffle introduced 19 new faces, while 6 outgoing ministers were retained. India's food safety regulator has banned the marketing of sugar-rich food products and beverages as oral rehydration solutions. Long-time activist of the cause, Dr. Sivaranjani Santoshi, broke down on camera after winning the 8-year-long legal battle, resulting in this major regulatory change. Shilpa Rani Petta is here with more details.
Well, if you've been buying ORS from a pharmacy when you're dehydrated or down with diarrhea, the FSSAI's latest directive is an important one. Now, India's food regulator has now banned the use of the term ORS on any food or beverage label, even if it is a part of just the brand name or a trademark. Now, this because several Tetra Paks sold over the counter as ORS or ORSL don't actually meet the WHO formulation standards. Now, in its order, FSSAI says that using ORS on a fruit-based, non-carbonated or even ready-to-drink beverage, even with a prefix or suffix, violates the Food Safety and Standards Act, and such labeling, it says, is false, deceptive and misleading to consumers. Now, the regulator has also withdrawn its earlier 2024 order that had allowed companies to use the word ORS in its trademark if they added a disclaimer saying that the product was not WHO recommended. Now, this move follows an 8-year legal battle launched by Hyderabad-based pediatrician Dr. Sivaranjani Santosh, who in 2022 had filed a PIL before the Telangana High Court, and she had challenged the sale of beverages branded as ORS but not meeting the WHO formulation standards, warning that such drinks could worsen dehydration instead of actually treating it. Now, the World Health Organization's formula for oral rehydration solutions is very precise. It specifies the exact amounts of sodium, potassium chloride, citrate, glucose needed to rehydrate the body effectively. But many so-called ORS or electrolyte drinks in India that are sold over the counter don't actually match this composition. Now, in India, currently, brands that sell ORS or ORS labeled packs include Electrol, Cipla Health, ORSL, all of these. Now, in response to CNBC TV18's query, a Cipla Health spokesperson clarified that Prolite ORS, which is their brand, is a WHO recommended solution, and it also welcomed FSSAI's move, saying that it will bring greater transparency to the market. Now, with the new directive in force, companies will have to relabel or rename all the products unless they meet the WHO standards. But for us consumers, it is important that we looked for the WHO-approved ORS seal before buying any such product over the counter. Now, this was the reaction from the doctor who led the 8-year-long battle. Listen in.
We have won it. The newspaper reported the 1410 order. That wasn't clear, and it said ORS can be used, but they've given a clarification today, and we have won it. They can not only not use ORS, they cannot sell it from today, right now from today. No misleading label with ORS can be sold. We have won the battle.
The indigenous Tejas MK1A fighter jet took to the skies for the first time today at HAL's Nashik facility. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, who was present for the maiden flight, also unveiled HAL's newly established third production line for the indigenous fighter jets Mark 1A variant. My colleague Madhya Mujawar gets us more on the latest additions to India's defence arsenal.
A proud moment for Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. I'm at the Ozar Airport in Nashik, and next to me is the Tejas Mark 1A light combat aircraft. So this Tejas Mark 1A LCA is the first jet produced in the Nashik facility, and earlier in the day it took off to the skies for a spectacular maiden flight today. It was escorted by the Sukhoi 30 and HTT 40 trainer aircraft. It had some spectacular, impressive maneuvers showcasing its power, its agility and cutting-edge technology in the presence of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, top HAL officials and hundreds of employees in the audience witnessing the proud milestone. We have with us Group Captain Venu, who flew the Tejas Mark 1A a while back. Captain, thank you very much for speaking to CNBC TV 18. How did you feel? How was your experience up there?
It's good. Very happy for the third line to come, start functioning. And this aeroplane is the first production out of Nashik. So with this coming on, we should be able to meet the numbers. That's why it is good. Like I told earlier, the Mark 1A is capable, more capable than the Mark 1. It brings new systems, new sensors and new weapons.
So the Indian Air Force is now looking to replenish its combat capabilities and is looking forward to induct the Mark 1A Tejas light combat aircraft. And it all depends on how soon HAL is able to fast-track the deliveries. The CMD told CNBC TV 18 that they are expecting to deliver, they're expecting to hand over 10 Tejas Mark 1A light combat aircraft to the Indian Air Force in 2025. We will only have to see whether that timeline is met in 2025. In Nashik with cameraman Prashant Ghuge, this is Madhya Mujawar for CNBC TV 18.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates will continue right here on CNBC TV 18.